When Keanu Reeves walked onto the stage of Jimmy Kimmel's show, everyone thought they would see what they always do. Keanu being nice, talking kindly, and maybe telling us about his new movie. But Jimmy had a secret plan. Behind his smile and the note cards in his hand, he wanted to try something different. He wanted to make Keanu upset, to see if he would react in a way no one had ever seen before. At first, everything felt normal. People laughed. But then, slowly, things started to feel different. The jokes didn't sound so funny. The room got quiet. And then something happened. Keanu said something that surprised everyone. He didn't shout. He didn't get mad. He just went very still. That silence said more than words ever could. And before long, the most famous TV show became something no one expected. People were shocked. And what Keanu said that night, no one could forget. Oh, and before we keep going, what do you like the most about Keanu Reeves? Tell us in the comments. The lights in the studio moved around like big flashlights looking in the dark. Loud music filled the room, making the crowd even more excited. People clapped and cheered loudly. Posters and bright signs covered the walls. Everyone was excited. Tonight's guest was finally here. Keanu Reeves walked onto the stage, calm and cool like always. He wore dark jeans, a plain black shirt, and a jacket that didn't try to get attention. He moved like someone who didn't care what others thought. His eyes looked around the room slowly. His smile was small, like he was keeping it just for himself. He waved once, then sat down. Backstage, a woman named Evelyn stood behind the curtain. One hand was on her hip, the other holding her phone hidden in her coat. She didn't look happy like everyone else. She looked serious. She was watching everything. Two show workers stood near a screen, talking quietly. "Tonight we make him react," one said. The other smiled. "He's too perfect. Too quiet. Tonight we break that." Evelyn heard everything. She didn't say a word. She pressed a record on her phone and hid it in her coat. On stage, Jimmy started the show with his usual big smile. "Tonight's guest is very special," he told the audience. "This guy isn't just a movie star. He's a smart guy with a black belt. He's the kind of person who can say smart quotes while loading a movie gun." Everyone laughed. Keanu gave a soft smile, like it didn't matter. Jimmy leaned in. "So, Keanu, you're here with a new project. Something quiet this time, right? No big explosions." Keanu nodded. "It's a documentary," he said quietly. "It's about faith, how we find meaning in the quiet moments." "That sounds serious," Jimmy said, raising his eyebrows. "What's really serious," Keanu replied, "is pretending everything's okay when it's not. Silence isn't giving up. Sometimes it's how we keep going." Jimmy laughed a little. "Okay, wow. That's deep for the start of a show." Backstage, Evelyn stared at Jimmy's cards. Her face got darker when she saw some bold words: memes, religion, cross necklace, monk. Keanu sat straighter in his chair. Or maybe he just got more still. He smiled, but his body didn't move much, like an animal sensing danger. "You spent 4 years on this film," Jimmy said. "Alone, not talking to anyone for days. Isn't that extreme?" Keanu answered, "What's really extreme is never stopping to listen." Jimmy laughed again. It felt like a habit. "You ever think maybe you're just too serious?" Keanu didn't blink. Being serious doesn't mean you don't have joy. It means you have a reason for what you do. Some people in the crowd clapped softly. Jimmy smiled, but it didn't look real. "I mean, look at you," he said, pointing at Keanu. "You're like a modern monk, but with cool boots. Are you always like this, or are you just pretending?" "I don't care about pretending," Keanu said. The quiet after that wasn't for show. It was heavy, like a big blanket over the room. Jimmy quickly picked up another card, trying to change the topic. Let's keep it fun tonight. People want to laugh, not go to therapy, right? He waved at the audience. They laughed right away. Keanu didn't laugh. His eyes looked at the cards in Jimmy's hand. Something changed in him. He crossed his legs slowly and leaned back, but not to relax. He was getting ready. His smile was gone, not angry, but serious. Backstage, Evelyn whispered to herself, "They're pushing him. And he knows." The crowd kept laughing, but they didn't know what was really going on. The quiet next to Jimmy wasn't just quiet, it was waiting. Suddenly, the screen behind them lit up with a pop. Jimmy turned to the crowd, smiling. "We found some funny stuff on the internet," he said, excited. "People love making memes about this guy. Let's see what they made." The audience cheered. Keanu kept looking at the screen. The first image showed him outside a hospital, wearing a mask and hoodie. Someone had added a cartoon halo and called him St. John Wick with a silly filter on his face. Everyone laughed. Jimmy pointed and laughed too. Even when he's buying painkillers, he looks like a hero. The crowd roared with laughter. Keanu didn't laugh. His hands stayed still in his lap. His smile was completely gone. Another picture came up. It showed Keanu at a red carpet event. It zoomed in on the cross necklace he wore. Jimmy leaned forward, joking, "A hero who goes to confession too." This time the laughter was even louder. Someone shouted, "Preach, Keanu." Keanu didn't move. He blinked. Slowly. Backstage, Evelyn didn't move either. Her jaw was tight. She remembered that cross. She gave it to him after a funeral. She knew how much it meant. Jimmy kept going, enjoying the laughs. "So, Keanu, are you a real monk now? Or just a great actor pretending not to be mad?" The whole room got quiet. Even Jimmy seemed to know he went too far. Keanu didn't yell. He didn't frown. He said softly, "The pain I've lived through taught me that silence also says something." The laughing stopped. People sat up straighter. A few clapped, softly. The rest looked unsure. Jimmy cleared his throat. He tried to smile, but it didn't look right. Okay, I deserved that," he said. "I'm just trying to have fun. You're like walking poetry. I don't know what to do with that." Keanu nodded. "Maybe just listen." Jimmy gave a weak laugh and looked at his cards again. "So, I also found a tweet that said, and I quote, 'Keanu Reeves is what would happen if empathy had a six-pack.' You think that's fair?" Keanu answered, "I don't think empathy needs muscles. It needs to be present." Jimmy put the card down. "Man, have you always been like this?" Keanu looked right at him. "You mean not laughing when the pain isn't mine?" The audience went quiet again. Not awkward, but like something important had just happened. A few people in the front row stopped smiling. Jimmy, the man on stage, took a deep breath. He felt the air fill his chest. He waved his arms around like a music conductor, like he was trying to change the feeling in the room. "Okay, let's shake things up a bit," he said loudly, trying to make people laugh again. "Let's play a fun game, shall we?" The big screen behind them turned on with a beep. On the screen, big, round letters popped up. They were bright and colorful. They said, "True or False, Keanu Edition." Jimmy turned back to the camera and smiled really wide. "Here's how it works," he said. "We'll show a story about Keanu. Then Keanu tells us if it's true or just something made up by the internet." He turned to look at Keanu, who was sitting beside him on stage. "Sounds good, Keanu?" But Keanu didn't smile. He didn't move. He sat very still. Then, very slowly, he said, This isn't why I came here. Jimmy blinked. He looked confused. Sorry, what did you say? Keanu moved just a little in his chair. His voice stayed quiet and calm. This interview has become silly. I'm not here to be part of a joke. Some people in the audience clapped a little, but not many. Others looked at each other. They weren't sure what was going on. Jimmy tried to smile again. It looked a little forced this time. Man, you really take stuff seriously. Keanu leaned in a little closer. His voice was soft, but his eyes were strong. Maybe you need to feel something real. The words landed like a rock dropping into a quiet lake. The room felt different now. Jimmy blinked again. He didn't know what to say. His happy smile was gone. Backstage, a camera helper looked at the control room with big eyes. Inside, the director leaned in and whispered, "He's flipping it. Keanu is flipping the whole thing." Back on stage, Jimmy sat still. One hand held his note cards. The other rested on his knee. The audience didn't laugh anymore. They weren't smiling. They were just watching closely. Something had changed. For a few seconds, Jimmy stared at Keanu. His eyes were moving, looking for something funny to say. But the fun had left the room. Above them, the lights hummed quietly. The whole place felt still. Then Keanu spoke again. "My sister died of leukemia," he said quietly. "I was 23. I spent 2 years sleeping on the floor of the hospital, next to her bed. No one made a sound. My daughter was stillborn. That means she died before she was born. Her mom and I buried her on a rainy day in the Hollywood Hills. We named her Ava." A soft sound came from the crowd. Someone gasped. "My best friend died in a car crash. He was driving very fast, and the car hit a tree and exploded. I was supposed to be with him that night." Jimmy sat very still. His eyes were wide now. He hadn't expected any of this. "I chose to be quiet," Keanu said. "Not because I had nothing to say, but because everything I could say felt too small for the pain." Backstage, a woman named Evelyn put her hand over her mouth. Her eyes were shiny with tears. She couldn't stop looking at Keanu. "People ask me why I'm quiet," Keanu continued. "Why I don't yell or fight. It's because I already fought through the loudest, worst kind of noise." Jimmy cleared his throat. He looked uncomfortable. "Look, man, I didn't mean anything bad. I was just trying to make the mood lighter." Keanu's eyes didn't move. He kept looking right at Jimmy. Sometimes, people use jokes to hide from real feelings. I get that. But when you turn someone's pain into a guessing game, what are you really doing? Jimmy blinked slowly. He tried to smile again, but it didn't look real. "Well," he said too cheerfully, "let's get back to the fun, huh? No need to get too dark." A new slide came on the screen. Which of these Keanu stories is true? Keanu buys ice cream for his team. Keanu gives money to hospitals. Keanu eats lunch alone in the park. Jimmy clapped his hands together. "Okay, Keanu, which one is real?" Keanu didn't even look at the screen. "This isn't a game," he said. "And this isn't the place for it." The silence in the room was sharp. It wasn't just quiet. It felt like the air had changed. Some people in the audience were still smiling, but only a little. Others moved in their seats, feeling unsure. Jimmy tried again, this time with more edge in his voice. "You know, you take everything so seriously. Maybe that's your problem. Maybe you need to lighten up." Keanu didn't blink. He leaned in and said again, calmly, "Maybe you need to feel something real." Jimmy's face changed. His smile dropped completely. Behind the curtain, the director whispered, "He's losing it." Keanu's turning the whole thing around. On stage, Jimmy sat frozen. His hands were in his lap. His show was slipping away. Time felt like it was stretching. Jimmy's jaw tightened. His fingers tapped twice on the chair. Then he laughed, short and loud. But it didn't sound happy. "You act like you're better than everyone," he said. "Like sitting there all quiet makes you special. That's not being humble, Keanu. That's just pretending to be deep." The room froze. Everyone stared. A hush fell over the crowd. Keanu didn't move. "It's not pride to speak gently," he said. "But it is pride to turn someone's sadness into a show for views and likes." Jimmy leaned forward, pointing his finger now. His voice got louder. "You." The word hit hard, like a brick through glass. The crowd gasped. Some people lifted their phones and started recording. Everything stopped. The lights, the sound, the laughter. The moment had gone too far. Keanu didn't react. His eyes stayed on Jimmy. Behind the curtain, Evelyn stepped forward. She didn't step onto the stage, but she was ready. Her whole body was tight like a spring. Jimmy blinked a lot. He looked scared now. The anger left his face. But Keanu didn't raise his voice. He didn't yell or try to win. He just leaned forward and said, calm as ever, "You said once in an interview that your dad left when you were young. You said you were scared people would think you were weak." Jimmy opened his mouth, but no words came. "And now," Keanu continued, "you're standing here making fun of someone else for being quiet. For hurting. For believing in something. But I know what this is." Keanu's voice stayed calm and low. "You know what it's like to be laughed at. And tonight, you became the person who once made you feel small." The whole room was still. No coughing. No whispering. Just breathe and watch. Keanu kept looking at Jimmy. Not mad. Just true. And then someone clapped. Then another person. And another. The clapping wasn't loud at first, but it felt real. Like people knew something important just happened. Backstage, Evelyn had tears in her eyes. She didn't wipe them away. She just watched. On stage, Jimmy tried to smile, but he couldn't. His mouth didn't work right. He reached for his coffee mug, but his fingers knocked it over by accident. The mug tipped. Water spilled all over the table. It ran off the side and down to the floor. It slid across the stage, slow and quiet. This moment wasn't big or flashy, but it was real. And it couldn't be taken back. Jimmy tried to fix his face. He tried to grab control of the show again. But the show didn't belong to him anymore. The mug rolled off the edge of the table. It hit the floor with a thud. And the last drops of water spilled out. Jimmy didn't move to catch it. He just sat there, staring. His mouth was tight, his shoulders were stiff. But his eyes looked lost. Across from him, Keanu was sitting calmly. But now, his calmness didn't look like he didn't care. It looked like someone who had been through a lot and stayed strong. "I read that interview you did," Keanu said quietly. Just loud enough so Jimmy could hear. And the people watching could feel it too. "The one where you said it was worse to be called weak than to be called mean." Jimmy didn't say anything. He was breathing faster now. Keanu leaned forward. His voice was calm and steady. "You said when your dad left, the quiet in your house felt scarier than the yelling. You said you learned to be loud so no one would know how scared you were." Something changed in Jimmy's face. Just a little. Like a window starting to crack before it breaks. "You know what it feels like to be laughed at," Keanu said. "To be doubted. To be made fun of for your feelings. And now, you're making someone else the joke." The people watching were very quiet. But it didn't feel unsure. It felt serious. You became the kind of person that used to hurt you, Keanu said. There was no anger in his voice. Just the truth. Simple and clear. Jimmy didn't talk at first. You could see his throat tighten. Then he gave a little laugh, dry and nervous. You think you know me? He asked. But his voice wasn't strong anymore. Keanu didn't move. No, he said. I just know what pain does to people. Someone in the crowd clapped once. Then another. And more joined in. Like a wave moving through water. It wasn't a big cheer. It was quiet and real. Jimmy looked at the crowd, surprised. He wasn't used to being the one looked at like this. Not when it was real. Backstage, Evelyn was watching. Tears fell down her face. She didn't wipe them. She just took a deep breath and put her hand on her heart. On the stage, Jimmy leaned forward. His elbows on the desk. His head down. This time his voice was softer. I didn't mean for it to go like this. I know, Keanu said. But it did. The moment felt big and raw. Then Jimmy pushed the wet cards off the desk. His hand was shaking. The papers were wet and stuck together. And now the stage didn't feel like a studio. It felt like a mirror. No one moved. The lights stayed on. The cameras kept filming. But something had changed. Jimmy sat still, looking down. He was surrounded by messy paper and spilled water. But he wasn't the focus anymore. Keanu stood up. Not in a big way. He didn't yell or slam anything. He stood up the same way he came in. Quiet. With purpose. The feeling of the moment followed him as he turned to the crowd. A security guard on the side started to step forward, unsure. But Evelyn reached out and gently touched his arm. Let him go, she said. But let him go his own way. Keanu stopped at the edge of the stage. He looked at the people, not for applause, not to wave. He just looked at them. All of them. Thank you for listening, he said. Not to me, but to what really matters. The room was quiet for half a second. Then slowly, people started to stand. Clapping softly. Not like a celebration. More like they understood something. Jimmy stayed sitting. He didn't look up. Keanu didn't wait for music or a signal. He walked off the stage the same way he had lived his life. Quietly, calmly, and strong. The video of the moment spread fast online. Keanu walks off after tough talk. Audience turns on Jimmy after the mistake. Keanu shows how to stay kind in hard moments. People talked about it. They used words like respect, kindness, and finally, someone told the truth. It wasn't about drama anymore. It became something real. Outside, under soft streetlights, Evelyn gave Keanu his phone. You should see this, she said. He looked down. A video of what he had done already had over 1 million views. It was going up fast. He stared at it for a moment. Then let out a small breath through his nose. Not really a laugh, but almost. Maybe, he said, they're finally listening. He put the phone in his pocket. The night air moved gently. It was quiet. It was open. Then he walked away from the building. Into the night. Into the world. Into whatever came next. And for once, the world didn't look away. If you liked this story, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment below and let me know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe for more thrilling adventures, mysteries, and unforgettable moments. Your support keeps these stories alive and the creativity flowing. Thanks for watching. I can't wait to see you in the next video.